Hi friends, in this part we shall discuss secretarial audit, which is an independent audit to check the compliance of Companies Act and other corporate and economic laws applicable to the company. The secretarial auditor expresses an opinion on the adequate systems, processes in the company commensurate with its size and operations, and to monitor and continuously ensure compliance with applicable laws, rules, regulations, and guidelines that could prevent show cause notices being issued from the registrar of companies or authorities, and also prevent penalties and fines imposed on the company and its officers. Secretarial audit also helps to detect non-compliance issues related thereto and for taking corrective measures for good corporate practices. Only a member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India holding Certificate of Practice, called Company Secretary in Practice, can conduct secretarial audit and furnish the secretarial audit report to the company. The following companies are required to have secretarial audit, namely, every listed company, every public company having a paid-up share capital of 50 crores rupees or more, or every public company having a turnover of rupees 250 crores or more. These companies are required to annex with its board's report a secretarial audit report given by the company secretary in practice. Secretarial audit report is required to be provided in the format prescribed in Form MR3. The secretarial auditor needs to examine and report on the compliance of various corporate laws under MR3. The Companies Act and the rules made thereunder, the Securities Contract Regulation Act and the rules made thereunder, the Depository Act and the regulations and bylaws framed thereunder, Foreign Management Act 1999 and the rules and regulations made thereunder, especially with regard to foreign direct investment, overseas direct investment and external commercial borrowings, and all regulations and guidelines prescribed by the SEBI for listed companies. Secretarial auditor may also rely upon the reports given by the statutory auditors or other designated professionals. Secretarial auditor examines secretarial standards issued by the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and approved by the central government. The listing secretarial audit report also dwells upon whether the board of directors of the company is duly constituted with proper balance of executive directors, non-executive directors and independent directors, the changes in them or the composition of the board of directors that took place during the period under review and in compliance with various provisions of the Act, whether adequate notices have been given to all directors of the board meetings, whether adequate notice has been given to all the directors for board meetings, and whether the agenda and detailed notes on the agenda were sent to directors in advance as per listing guidelines, whether the dissenting board members' views are captured and recorded as part of the minutes, whether there are adequate systems and processes in the company commensurate with its size and operations, and to monitor and ensure compliance with applicable laws, rules, regulations, and guidelines. Whether notice regarding general meetings are given to directors and auditors of the company, to the secretarial auditor, to the debenture trustees, if any, and wherever applicable, or so required to any other persons. To give this report, secretarial auditor is appointed by the board, and their appointment has to be notified to the registrar of companies and the stock exchanges where the company is listed, like an internal auditor. Any qualification, reservation or adverse remark, if any, should be stated by the secretarial auditor at the relevant places in bold type or in italics. If the secretarial auditor is unable to express an opinion on any matter, he should mention that he is unable to express an opinion on that matter and the reasons therefore. So for conducting secretarial audit, the secretarial auditor need to have adequate knowledge of the corporate laws, a knowledgeable team with him and a well-trained staff, and he has to take necessary documentation and proper evidences. The secretarial auditor also advises the company on secretarial practice checklist and also monitors major events like public issue, rights issue, bonus issue of securities, formation of companies and other events related to existing companies, and its administration on various aspects, including payment of dividend, payment of interest on public deposits and debentures, and transfer of unpaid dividend, interest, etc. to the government account and formalities connected therewith. In short, all issues related to share capital is dealt with by the company secretary in practice. The company secretary in practice obtains a management representation letter from the company regarding corporate compliances signed by the management, like the company secretary, managing director, or the whole-time director, or any other person who is authorized by the board to monitor corporate compliances.
Apart from secretarial audit, a company secretary in practice or a firm of company secretaries also check regular compliances with SEBI regulations, compliance calendar of stock exchanges, maintenance of website and investor information as per SEBI guidelines, issue of secretarial compliance certificate for certain class of listed companies, quarterly reports of share capital reconciliation, and also certify various forms under MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs website, including the filing of financial statements in XBRL mode, E-Form AOC 4 applicable to certain class of companies for which a special software is required. And it is in short the annual report filed in extended business reporting language for certain class of companies. He also helps the company conduct general meetings and monitor the voting process at general meetings on various resolutions placed before the general meeting. And he also counts and reports the votes polled thereat and the results thereof to the chairman of the meeting, stock exchanges, and he also checks the publication in newspapers of financial results in prescribed format and SEBI guidelines. That apart, a company secretary in practice can assist the company in representing them before National Company Law Tribunal, and in particular, order for operation and mismanagement, order for rectification of register of members where grievances of refusal of companies to transfer of securities are reported, order for protection of interest for various stakeholders, especially non-promoter stakeholders and depositors, order to provide relief to investors against wrongful actions committed by the company management and others who are associated with the company, order for aggrieved depositors seeking redressal for the acts and omissions by the company which hurt their rights as depositors, for orders to allow the company to revise its financial statements, order to investigate or initiate investigation proceedings, order to investigate into the ownership of the company, order to freeze the assets of the company, order to impose restriction on any securities of the company, order for conversion of public limited company into private limited company, order for holding annual general meeting or general meetings which the company could not hold as per the provisions of the Act, order to alter the financial year of a company registered in India, declare the liability of members as unlimited, deregistration of companies which have been registered or registration obtained in an illegal manner. There are several forms need to be filed on regular basis before the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, known as MCA website, mca.gov.in, right from the incorporation of companies and its periodical administration, including the strike-off of the companies. And he also needs to countercheck compliances of these forms for approval by the government before it is taken on record. Therefore, a statutory auditor, secretarial auditor, and a cost auditor where cost records are prescribed is essential for an organization. A specimen of management representation letter to the secretarial auditor, MR3 Secretarial Audit Report and its annexure, Secretarial Compliance Certificate under SEBI LODR regulations, and Secretarial Compliance Certificate for Annual Return MGT 8 are all given here for your information and use. Thank you.